Texas goes down in Red River. Final score, Longhorns 30, Oklahoma 34. The question that I think if you're a Texas fan you're asking today, and maybe even a college football fan in general you're asking today, what does it mean? What does it mean for Texas in terms of what we believed about them going into this game? What does it mean for the college football playoff race? What does it mean for the Big 12 title race? Overall, what's the ripple effect of this game from Texas losing in Red River? I think there's a lot to unpack within this. But if you're Texas today, I think you feel frustrated because you didn't play your best game yesterday. I don't think that's novel analysis. We'll break that down more right now. But if you're Texas, you feel like you left some money on the table, and that's tough to do against an opponent like Oklahoma who's going to make you pay. Now, again, I think there's more to talk about within this on Tell the Truth Sunday with Texas. Spoiler alert, we still feel really good about the Longhorns. Before we do that, though, make sure you subscribe right here to the On3 YouTube channel. College football, only college football. Texas Longhorn fans, had a lot of y'all join the party within the last couple of weeks. Would love to have y'all subscribed if you're not already. Also follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD Piquel to stay with every single thing we got going on here. The Longhorns now got, I think, a fair amount of runway left still. We're going to talk a lot about them the rest of the season. Make sure you're dialed in. As I alluded to, the frustrating thing was, you lose by 4, and you played nowhere near your best game. 3 turnovers, allowed 200 yards rushing, 9 penalties. And the reality is, in a rivalry game against a really good offense with Jeff Lebby calling the shots and Dylan Gabriel playing quarterback in the way that he played yesterday, you can't spot that kind of field position and that many possessions to an offense like Oklahoma. Just kind of the reality. Now, I would also say this, though. In terms of what does it mean for Texas, like that's the big question we're asking today. I don't view Texas any differently than we did going into Red River. Like we knew what it was yesterday. It was a rivalry game. Weird things happen in rivalry games, and it wasn't like you were just playing an Oklahoma team that was severely outmatched. Oklahoma, we knew going into it, had a ton of talent, had a ton of personnel, and they felt like they were kind of being overlooked by a lot of the college football landscape. A lot of people said a lot of things about Oklahoma going into this game, and like, it is what it is. Not the end of the world. I mean, everything that Texas wants to achieve is still very much on the table. And it wasn't a situation where we saw Texas have those turnovers and then just kind of, start to pout and go into, oh, poor me mode. Like the way that Texas responded yesterday, if anything, I think says a lot of good things about Texas going forward. For Quinn Ewers to shake off those turnovers and to play the way he did the rest of that game, ask yourself this. How would Quinn Ewers have responded if this had happened a season ago? How many times did we see Texas have things not really go their way, and then in the second half they, sort of fall apart? Like that wasn't Texas yesterday. Texas had a chance to win that football game. Kicked a field goal with a minute to go and had the defense out there with a chance to get a stop and end the game. Like Texas, I think, did a lot of things that are going to be overlooked today because of that final score. But if you're watching the film back today in Austin, Texas, I don't think there's a ton to hang your head at. There's a lot to coach up. There's a lot to say, man, if this goes differently, maybe the situation, maybe the result ends up playing out a little bit differently. And that's a lot of woulda, shoulda, coulda. But I loved the way they responded. Also, I'll say this too for Steve Sarkisian and company, I loved how aggressive they were. They're running the fake punt. They're going forward on 4th down. Like that tells me that this Texas team, they're taking everybody seriously. Not to say that you would have ever in some way, shape, or form not taken Oklahoma seriously, but the team that we saw in Tuscaloosa, the team that we saw play Kansas last week, the team that we saw play against Oklahoma, it's the same team. They have the same attitude. They have the same attack. And I think if you're Texas going forward now, you're going to need that kind of mentality from week to week. And that's, I think, a step in the right direction. I think it's a step in terms of their maturity as an entire operation at Texas, having that identity that, hey, we're going to be aggressive. We don't care who it is. We don't care the spot. We don't care the logo across from us. We're going to be our own style. We're going to play our game. And I saw that in a lot of ways yesterday from Texas in that spot. Now, there's going to be so much talk now, and we said it at the top of the week, really. We said it even going into the week, if Texas does lose this football game, there's going to be a lot of overreaction about, well, Texas, hey, the culture. A lot of people say the culture at Texas is bad, and yeah, it's great they beat Bama, but what do they do the rest of the season? Hey, you beat Bama, but you can't beat Oklahoma? Really? What's up at Texas? There's not a culture issue at Texas. Okay, I want to make that very, very clear. This Texas we've seen is different than Texas of years past. Feel pretty confident saying that. So everyone's saying, well, is Texas, not back? Is Texas this? Is Texas that? Like, it's one game. They lost by 4 points. Let's not blow this thing out of proportion. But I will say this now. If you do have questions about their culture, or if you want to learn more about their culture, there's no argument to be made that it's in a much better spot than it was previously. But you will not learn more about a culture in any other point in time than you will from a loss. Like, you want to really run your culture through a strong filter, have your team lose a football game. Now, you never invite a loss. You never want to lose a football game. But even so, how you respond when things aren't going your way, that's what your culture is. It's easy to say, hey, let's lock arms and hey, you and me, we're in this together, brothers in arms, all that. Like, it's fun to say stuff like that when you're undefeated. You can say culture is strong when you beat Alabama at Alabama and you're ranked top 5, top 3 in the country and everyone's singing your praises and all that. But like, what happens when you get knocked down? That's when you find out what your culture is. And so if you have questions about Texas's culture, they will get answered here in the very near future. I happen to believe they're going to respond in a really strong way, like they did in this game. Couple of turnovers early, no flinch, no sweat, go right back to it. Quinn Ewers sets a completion record for Texas. Like, I think that's what we're going to see from them going forward. But I will say this too, with their back against the wall now, it'll be on how they pick each other up, and it'll be also on the leadership of this organization. Quinn Ewers, that locker room, Steve Sarkisian, how do you hit the reset button? Again, I feel pretty confident they'll hit the reset button in a meaningful and impactful and strong way. But everything, again, is still in front of them. Big 12 title, college football playoff, heck, national title, that's still on the table for Texas. There's nothing Texas can't achieve because of what they lost in that game yesterday. You hate losing. If you're a competitor, it stings today, and it should sting today based on what they've done over the course of the last couple of years building to a game like yesterday. But I also want to make sure, we said this in our Oklahoma video, I want to say this right now in this Texas video, I would be wildly surprised, based on what we saw yesterday, if we don't see that game again for the Big 12 title. Like, the college football season is wild and unpredictable, but from what we saw in the Cotton Bowl yesterday, those are the two best teams in the conference. And Big 12 fans are not going to want to hear that because they're both leaving for the SEC next year, but those are the best two teams in the conference, not just the best roster. Now, they both have to take care of business to get to Jerry World and to play it again, but if you're Texas, it is very difficult to beat any team twice, especially a team with the firepower they have offensively and what they have on the line of scrimmage for Texas. So I would be very, very slow to sell my Texas stock because of one loss by 4 points in a rivalry game. So the Longhorns, again, they fall yesterday, but I don't view them in any different light when it comes to what they can accomplish and what they're made of, and it doesn't invalidate to me anything that they've done to this point in the year. But I can't wait to see how they respond. Make sure you're subscribed right here. College football and only college football every single day of the year. Hey, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.